My friends, welcome back to another episode of Leadership Synergized. Today, we are honored to sit down with the remarkable leader and visionary, Dr. Michael Koku. Dr. Koku is a physician, Maxwell Leadership Certified Executive Director, and a gifted communicator known for turning complex ideas into practical, life-changing steps. He's authored 12 influential books and leads global leadership initiatives that are transforming lives across business, education, healthcare, and ministry. Get ready. This conversation will empower you to grow, lead, and elevate your impact. Koku, really appreciate you taking time out to join us. And let's shift back a little bit. We've talked about the 12 books you've written, and just talk about that experience of being an author, from that first book you wrote on understanding medical school to the last book you wrote. And I think you've wrote a number in the past few years in that regard. What had you learned about yourself through that entire process?
Wow, that's a good question, Kelvin. One thing I've learned about myself is, see, when I started my first book that I wrote, okay, let me say my first published book, because there's a book that I wrote before then that was not published. So the first one that was not published, it's a exclusively spiritual book. It's called Waiting in the Desert.
Ah.
So and it was up to today, it is unpublished. But I learned something from that book because it taught me how to wait. And as a person of faith, one thing I don't know how to do when I just started is I'm still learning. Not that maybe I'm a PhD in waiting now. I'm still learning how to wait, how to be patient. Because at times I want something now. In fact, I post something today about waiting. I posted something on LinkedIn today. I talk about give yourself time. It talks about the butterfly. Yeah. And that's what I did when I wrote that unpublished book, Waiting in the Desert. It talks about, I use I call it Waiting in the Desert, the butterfly experience. How a butterfly have to go through different metamorphosis, which is the word for transformation, metamorpho, and the word for change. So, like I said, so my first book came out of my pain, because after I failed that examination, it was a real major landmark in my life. And number one, I didn't give myself any excuse that, oh, because I was a pastor in college, that's why I failed. I first of all, because people were saying, oh, maybe that's why. I said, no, no, no. I said, no, I failed. It's not because I'm a pastor, because there's another friend of mine today is a cardiothoracic surgeon today. He passed. We're the only two pastors in the class. I said, so I failed because I was not consistent. And that was the truth. I don't have consistent. I wasn't disciplined. So because one thing I found out about medical school is it requires consistency. Most people that passed the exam, it's not because they were better than me, it's because they were consistent from day one. And that was what I lack. So what I did is I went back to work. So when I joined the new class, I started reading from day one. So what I lack was discipline and consistency. Later on, I found out something, that discipline will lead to habits, habits leads to consistency, and consistency will lead to growth. So at the root of everything is discipline. Discipline is doing what you want most instead of what you want now. Mm. And I found that I wasn't disciplined. In fact, that's, as a person of faith, that's what the Lord told me. You are not disciplined, that you don't even have a time for you don't have a schedule for everything. And what I did is I have to work on that discipline part. And when I begin to work on, that's when I got the 7 C's. When I wrote my first book, I got the 7. And one of the C's is conception, that you have to have a vision. And that's what Stephen Covey talks about, beginning with the end in mind. Because I have a vision to be one of the top students. So I begin to change, because the way you see yourself determines the way you act. So, and another C from that factor is consistency. And I became consistent. So I began to read every day. I'll read during the day. I'll read overnight. To the extent that one of my colleagues, she began to call me a nickname, Consistency. Because by the time she get to the library, she will find me, and our house is closer. Where she lives is closer to the library. I have to walk a long distance. So by the time she go to the library, the first person she want to find out that is there is me. So she would just open the curtain and see me. Oh, you here again, Consistency. So that became my nickname because I didn't have that before I failed. And that was when everything changed for me. So, and this is what I've learned. After the first two books that I wrote in medical school, the question is, why didn't I write a book? For 20 years, I never wrote a single book. I lost that consistency. But something happened 2 years ago when I was about to clock 50. And I realized that no, I don't want to live this way again. And I make up my mind that year, 2023, I want to write 10 books. I set a big goal now. Imagine you didn't write a book for 20 years. Now in 1 year, you say you want to write 10 books. But I need that B hack. B hack is what Jim Collins called bold, hairy, audacious goal. But I need that to wake me up. So when I said that 10 goals, the question is, did you write 10 books in 2023? The answer is no. But I was able to write 4, and I think I wrote 5 books. Yeah, I did 5 books. Then in 2024, I said, okay, I'm going to pick up from where I left. I was able to do 4 new books. And then this year I've done 1. So the 10 books that I already planned was already completed. But guess what? I have some fresh titles I'm working on now for next year.
Amazing. And they're all available on Amazon. Is that correct?
Yes, all my books are available on Amazon. Just all you have to go is check Dr. Michael Koku on Amazon. This is the recent one.
Yeah.
Leader Yourself, Unlocking Your Power with Personal Leadership. I love this one. Said that, and all my books are acronyms. The last one is based on acronym. The acronym is I use that acronym of leadership. It is 10 pillars. I shared the 10 pillars for personal leadership in that last book. Yeah.
Outstanding. Wow. What a motivation you are. Just a walking motivator, my friend. And I sense, Dr. Koku, your commitment to growth. And I've experienced this a bit over the past 10, 20 years. That drive to grow has allowed me to continue to have the energy and the passion, if you will. They seem to go hand in hand, which to your point really drives the need, the critical success factor perhaps, of how we focus and utilize our times, the time that's available at us. Referencing Dr. John Maxwell again, whom both of us just love and admire and respect beyond words with what he has done and continues to do on this earth for leaders and human beings. But in his book, Today Matters, he talks about identifying the true priorities and forget about prioritizing a schedule. Simply schedule what priorities, those things that matter to you are.
Yeah, yeah. And that's so true, and Coach Kelvin, because we live in a days in which we have weapon of massive distractions. And there's so many distractions. You have the internet, you have the phone. I mean, these are things that are not there in those days. And you see people waking up, the first thing that they do is I want to check my phone, I want to check my phone. You see, the first thing you do when you wake up is not to check your phone. Is to check on yourself. So, and in this, my latest book, I shared something that I learned from the richest man in the world about the 5 habits of the top 1% of people. And the 5 habits. And guess what, Coach Kelvin? The Lord has been dealing with me on these 5 habits because habits are so powerful. And these 5 habits, the reason why it stood out to me is that the Lord dealt with me on each of those habits. I was not that before. But as I went through that process, because the law of the process, leadership is not developed in a day, it's developed daily. So I haven't gone through that process. So one day I was just, because I have a red YouTube, I'm a student of YouTube University. You know what that means? YouTube has what we call red YouTube, that you can pay them for the premium service, so that when you are listening to YouTube, they take away the ads. So I have a premium YouTube. So I'm a student of YouTube University. So I learned. So one day I was just in the restroom. I was getting ready for a client. So I still got like 2 hours to go. So while I was just in the restroom, and I began to, because I like to listen to something to build me up. And as I was listening to that story, it was like 13 minutes or 9 minutes. I have to go back, rewind it to learn those 5 things. And I didn't have a pen and paper with me. It was in the restroom, I was like, I took up my phone note section. I began to take notes. By the time I finished, it was almost 2 hours in the restroom. I took a shower and everything. By the time I finished and came back, it took me 2 hours to go over those things again. By the time I finished, I got like 6 documents out of those notes that I took. And that stuff changed my life. The first thing that I learned is those 5 things. The top habits of top 1% of people in the world is honesty. So you have to be honest with yourself. That honesty is, you have to be really brutally honest with yourself, because honesty is the key to growth. You have to be honest. Honest help you to self-reflect, to be able to assess yourself. Instead of giving yourself a pat in the back, you are able to tell yourself the truth. Because when you keep telling yourself a lie, you keep giving yourself, oh, well, yesterday I couldn't do what I'm supposed to do, because you make excuse. You can either make excuse or make progress. You can make both. So honesty is where to start from. The second thing is continuous learning. Continuous learning. And this is why, find a way to learn something new every day, something that when you see it, it will wow you, like, wow, I didn't know that. Learn something new every day. Research something new, something that you didn't know. When I'm reading a book and I find something that I didn't know, I write it down. I put those things down. For instance, today now, I already write something down that I found in a book that I want to do more research about that. So I have a little sleep like that. So continuous learning, you begin to learn every day. In fact, that's one of the factors that I shared in my book, Lead Yourself. I said the acronym for leadership, the L is learn continuously. So it has to be a daily thing. Then the third habit of the top 1% of people is exercise. You have to exercise every day. I want to talk about exercise. You have to move your body. Every morning I go out. I jog, I walk. It's just for 10 to 15 minutes every day that ends with day. Snow, I go out. Rain, I'm out. Sun, I'm out in the morning. Because it's not all about fitness. Movement is not about fitness. It's all about, the momentum. Because when you move, your blood flows into your brain and you can think better. And the next thing is create more than you consume. Create more than you consume. So we live in the days in which people just spend time, they consuming things. They can watch Netflix from morning till night. They can start just scrolling on their phone, consuming things that doesn't really add to their growth. But those things that you are consuming, somebody created it. So, but when you learn to create more than you consume, there's nothing wrong in consuming. I also read other books written by people. But the question is, what are you creating for other people to consume? What are you creating? That's why I like to create content, share content. I have something on LinkedIn called ATM, a Teaching Monday. I have a series going on now, fresh series for the month. So it's right there every morning just to serve people with it. That's creation. I'm also learning from great leaders like you. When I go there, I read what they say. But that is consumption. But we have to create more than we consume. So that puts you at the top 1%. And the last one is service. Service. So find a way to serve others. I believe that everyone deserves to be served well. So I love serving. So when you share something that add great value to people, that's service. So those are the 5 habits that really stood out to me. That with these 5 habits, if people can do it, being honestly and brutal with yourself, being honesty. Number 2, continuous learning. Number 3, and exercise. You move yourself, find a way to move your body, get out. I mean, if you can go out, just walk around the house, just move yourself, and then create more than you consume, and then find a way to serve others, not for what you can get, but for what service really means, helping people.
Powerful words of wisdom and guidance. We have Dr. Michael Koku with us, and you're watching and listening to Leadership Synergy. What an incredible conversation with Dr. Michael Koku. His wisdom, clarity, and passion for elevating others are simply unmatched, my friend. From leadership development to global empowerment, Dr. Koku continues to inspire leaders worldwide with practical strategies and a heart for service. Dr. Koku, my friend, thank you for sharing your time, your expertise, and your calling with us today. And to you, our listener, keep leading with purpose, keep growing with intention, and join us next time on Leadership Synergized. God bless, my friend.